Wars shape history. I've used the expression referring to gun, germs, and steel as being the foundation of human history because, yeah, it's a book. Read it if you want, but war, yeah, it has and always developed all of those three things. No matter wherever you are, or whenever you are in human history, humanity continues to change and evolve throughout periods of war. Death, strategy, travel, all of it. So let me ask you a question. Why does fantasy war feel so empty? If your war could be summarized by the bad country was evil, so they attack, then you're doing war wrong, but you deserve better. A lot better. So let's do it. Real wars are messy chains of money, fear, ego, desperation, and ideology. Naruto's setting does this well. The ninja villages aren't just ninja countries, they're military contractors, weapons labs in the form of jutsu formulation, and child soldier factories tied to an economic system that perpetuates and proliferates the cycle of hate that keeps the system eternal. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood does this even better. Ishval isn't a random war, it's alchemical research, natural expansion, ethnic cleansing, and a shadow government cult using the war to advance some end of the world plan. That's the energy we want to bring to your world building. To get there, I'm going to give you the framework that's easy to take and remember and hard to unsee once you've started using it. I call it the Pepsi method. No, Pepsi did not sponsor this. Yes, if they want to fund my weird world building videos, my email is open. Speaking of my email, if you have any world building questions or curiosities or something you'd like to want to share with me or have me talk about, shoot me an email. It's there for you all. Okay, so let's look at the Pepsi method. Our 5 carbonated pressures that build a war, especially when shaken. In Pepsi, there is P for profit and technology, E for expansion, empire, and security, P again, but this time for personal, so leaders, pride, and propaganda. S for suffering, so rock bottom, revenge, and trauma. And lastly, I for ideology, religion, cultural, or moral mission. These aren't pick one kind of causes. Real wars are usually a cocktail of 3 or 4 or all of them. Let's go through them, and then we'll mash them together into actual plots and figure it all out by the end, alright? P is for profit, and like I said, technology. War is expensive, so why do people keep doing it? Because someone expects to win more than they have already lost. Consider resources, trade routes, rare magical materials, control over new technology. In the real world, oil, rubber, gold, and diamonds in the colonies, industrial contracts, guns, tanks, planes, all profit engine. In your world, a desert nation has access to the only sand that can be turned into glass for scrying mirrors. Maybe the dwarves discovered gunpowder. Suddenly every neighbor has concerns about regional stability. A mage guild invented teleportation circles, and whoever controls their guild controls war logistics on an unparalleled level. Tie this to technology, and new technology shifts the math of war. In Full Metal Alchemist, alchemy plus state funding equals human weapon. In Naruto, the tailed beasts were collected by Hashirama to effectively be nuclear deterrents. It didn't work. Instead, it probably accelerated the use of weapons of mass destruction throughout history on the battlefield. They decided to speedrun their way through 3 great wars, 4 great wars by the last one. When you invent fancy technology, we could be talking about blood magic, or dragon riding, or even the introduction of Warforged into your setting. Ask, who makes money from this? Who gets left out of the profit? And who feels threatened by it? If the answer to any of those is a whole country, you've just created fuel for war. Let's do a world building exercise. Write just one sentence. If country A controls X, then country B loses Y. Example, if the Fire Nation controls the only pass through the mountains, then the Earth Nation loses 60% of its winter grain for trade. Congratulations, you have something worth fighting for. Up next, we have E is for expansion, empire, and security. Empires rarely say, we're conquering for fun. They say, we're securing our borders, we're bringing civilization to the uncivilized. We can't let our enemies get there first. Expansion is about land prestige, preemptive fear, and general disclaimer here. Expansion's also tied to profit, and plenty of these other letters, just like all world building stuff, it's a messy and intertwined system. So yeah, expansion's also about profit. In the real world, a lot of it boils down to we must not fall behind other great power. If we don't act there, then the enemy will grow stronger, and that puts us in danger. In your world, a kingdom wants to control a mountain that dragons nest on to prevent raids. An oceanic empire takes every island within sailing range for security reason. A ninja village infiltrates another, not for cash, but to ensure no village can unite against them. Ninjas, I say suspiciously and conveniently. Why don't we talk about Naruto again? Those great ninja wars, they're not random, they're driven by fear of imbalance of power, control of tailed beasts. Again, nuclear weapon analogy. Plenty of the ninja villages march through and carve through smaller villages in the conflict in order to try and topple the Leaf, which, great job everyone. Even in the one war where everyone was fighting the Leaf Village, you all still lost. Let's consider another world building exercise, won't we? Answer fast. Where is the choke point in your world? A pass, a portal, river, gate, or sky lane? Who lives there? Who needs that location for their security? Boom. Now you have another reason for war. Okay, so the next P in our Pepsi is personal, where we have leaders, pride, and propaganda. Forget countries for now. Wars are launched by specific people, limited lifespans, big egos, and some really big issue. Think, a king terrified of looking weak, a general desperate for legacy, a tyrant who must create an enemy to stay in power, a noble trying to distract from the famine of his people. People start wars to prove themselves, to distract populations, to avenge insults, or to cover up failure. In Full Metal Alchemist, Bradley and the higher-ups use ethnic tensions and nationalism to fuel a war that hides a giant transmutation circle running under the city, under the country, so Daddy can become God at the flip of a light switch, or whatever. It looks like national security. It's 100% personal agenda. In our world, leaders facing internal crises often find an external enemy. Personal grudges between leaders can sour diplomacy fast. In your world, a queen raised in exile wants her throne back. A warlord has been humiliated in a border skirmish, and now he's pushing a full offense. A priest king had a vision that he will only be remembered if he unites the lands through fire. Then comes propaganda. Take personal motives, wrap them in noble language, defending the faith from sinners, protecting families from the real monster, restoring ancient rights, and hit publish. Push and repeat. Put it in songs, get it out there, in front of the common man, because it is your commoner who determines the life and impact of these personal agendas, pushed into propaganda, propelling to a fully fledged, publicly endorsed war. We're nearing the end, but we've still got plenty to go. S is for suffering. So we're back at rock bottom talking about revenge and trauma. Wars don't just start from greed. They, however, almost always start with pain. Collective suffering hardens people. Survivors of previous conflicts, regions crushed by sanctions or embargoes, communities gutted by occupation, child soldiers raised with no other model of life. In FMA, the survivors of Ishval carry trauma that shapes everything they do, Scar being our most predominant point of view for this. His grief making him both a powder keg of consequence in the story, and Naruto, entire generations of shinobi are orphans of previous wars. They also have pain, literally a guy named Pain, and Nagato becomes war incarnate because of, well, as mentioned, pain. Naruto is a setting defined by suffering and traumatized violence, but in the real world, World War II only happens because of the festering wounds of World War I. Humiliation and economic collapse make extremist stories very appealing to those who have nothing else to look for. In your world, a kingdom burned by dragons 50 years ago, and the children of survivors now run the army. They shall march on to the Dragon Kingdom. A minority group has been taxed to death and barred from land ownership for centuries. A famine hits, and someone charismatic says, "Now we take what's ours." A defeated empire has war heroes living in the slums. Their bitterness is a recruiting pool. Suffering works two ways. It pushes people towards war. We can't live like this. It makes them resist war too. Never again, by whatever means necessary. You decide which dominates, but don't skip the emotional math that is having to live through the suffering. Having it around, well-being, quality of life, feelings of stability. World-building exercise. Name one atrocity or disaster that happened in the past 20 to 50 years ago in your world. Who still remembers it vividly? Who denies it? Who profited from it? Who's still affected today? Those fault lines can quickly become the front lines. Last, but certainly not least, is ideology. Belief, culture, and religion. Ideology is the story people tell themselves about what's right, who we are, and most importantly, the conversation about who they are. This can be religion, nationalism, racial theory, political systems, or the classic humanity, civilization versus barbarism. In Full Metal Alchemist, the Amestrians treat the Ishvalans as other, backward, obstacles to progress. The ideology of the state alchemists as dogs of the military serving the people while they burn cities is widely accepted as the socially right thing. In Naruto, the will of fire and different village beliefs about duty and sacrifice. Each village's ideology shapes how they use their ninja as weapons and tools. This drove to the cyclical cycle of hate that bred violence. These beliefs of duty and the mission caused someone as powerful as Sakamo Hatake to be driven to a self-inflicted fate, all because he chose to save the lives of his team over the success of the mission. Also an individual of exceptional power in his universe. In our world, I'll lean on the Crusades. America's needs to impose itself upon the world, and man, honestly, any conflict tends to be painted with some ideological belief. But honestly, most of those are not really YouTube-friendly conversations. In your world, a cult believes all the lands must see the pure light, which unfortunately means conquest. A culture built on ancestor worship sees necromancy as sacred, and their neighbors see it as an abomination, but the newer, younger leaders see that they cannot coexist next to each other, and must fix their belief, by force if needed. Ideology is rarely, "we're evil," it's always, "we're right," obviously. Most kingdoms or belief systems have songs, martyrs, core myths, and enemies ready for exercise. Fill in "our people were chosen to blank, their people are dangerous because blank." Those two sentences are the DNA of 1,000 speeches and dozens of wars. Nobody is twirling mustaches here. Everyone has a reason, a fear, a story. That's what you're aiming for. Let's look at using the Pepsi method in existing fandom-style worlds. So Naruto, profit and technology, hidden villages are paid for mission. Jutsu, tailed beasts, secret techniques. Expansion and security, villages want more clients, more territory loyal to or indebted to them. Better strategic positionings. Personal, you have Kage politics, Danzo's punk ass, clan pride. Suffering, orphans, destroyed clans, whether that be the Uchiha or the Uzumaki. Trauma that led to the Akatsuki. Ideology, the will of fire, peace through pain. Beliefs about sacrifice and duty. For Full Metal Alchemist, profit and technology means state alchemy is state-issued human weapons. Expansion is the Amestrians slowly start swallowing their neighbors, unifying the nation. Personal, father's plan, Scar's vendetta. Really, every character in this series has something they feel is worth going to war for. Sufferings, Ishvalan erasure. War crimes, PTSD. Ideology is easy, Amestrian patriotism. Alchemists are the dogs of the military, radicalized dehumanization of the Ishvalan. You can do the same analysis for your own story. If your war only pings one letter, deepen it. Add two more. Add all the letters. Add other letters. War is not a cutscene. It's a sculptor of your world. Ask what your wars have done to geography. Are they ruined fortresses along old borders? Salted the fields, cursed the battlefields, haunted trenches? Cities rebuilt hastily after sieges. For politics, is there a strong central government after existential war? Weak fragmented regions where armies mutinied and carved out their own territories. As far as technology and magic, healing magic's advanced incredibly because of battlefield necessity. Prohibitions on specific spells, no more soul bomb. Actually, hold on to that one, we'll be talking about this one in the near future. When characters walk throughout your world, they should be walking through layers of old war. Veterans on the corners, monuments, missing generations. That's how you get a setting that feels old without dumping dates. A setting that feels lived in, damaged, and enduring. World building exercise. Aftermath. Pick a war from your world's past. Answer in one bullet each. One law that exists because of that war. One superstition that exists because of that war. One ruined place that still hasn't been fixed. These 3 details will help you sell your history. You don't have to write a textbook to build a world. You just need the bones of the story underneath that formed the world. What's the direct spark? What are the underlying pressures? Who benefits if it continues? You don't need to explain every treaty to have ever happened, but you should know the Pepsi structure underneath to help you keep things smooth and crispy. I'm not going to wrap this up and say, and that's how you write realistic wars. Real wars are horrors. They're also drivers of art, science, borders, and myths. When we write them lazily, we flatten them into good guys versus bad guys. When we write them thoughtfully, we honor the complexity, tell better stories, and maybe, just maybe, help our readers or players notice the stories they're being sold in the real world. If all you got from this is my war needs more than just a Dark Lord, then good. But with that, I think we've reached the end of this world building lesson. I hope you all learned something. I sure know I did. I've got plenty of world building I need to look back at and spill some Pepsi on. Do the normal YouTube things, hit the like button. Hopefully you guys left me an abundance of comments for all these exercises and questions I left you, and hopefully I made something for free on the Patreon that might keep all of this Pepsi method stuff typed out and convenient for you all. But until next time, my dearest adventurers, I hope your roads are safe and your campfires keep the darkness of night away. Thanks, and thanks again for watching. Magpie responsibly.